Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah.
That FM Sports Show, you found it. You are here, and Adam Hulse is here as well. NFL writer for Sports Kita. Find him at Adam Hulse Sports. We are in the AFC South. We're breaking down every team, game by game, giving you guys the records, figuring out where people are going to finish, and we're doing it all live as we record this. So there's not a lot. There's a little studying, I think, maybe that goes on, but for the most part, we're just kind of taking it as it comes to kind of figure out where people are going to finish. This episode, we hit the Tennessee Titans. Are you liking the process so far, Adam?
Well, yeah, I mean, I love the picking live because after we make the picks live, like the records are what they are. Even if the team ends up having a better record than we think that they should or a worse record that we think that they should, the schedule kind of determines that.
A lot of emphasis has been placed on the schedule and how it's affecting these records. We know in the AFC South, they got to play each other twice. Then they got to play every team in the NFC South. They're playing teams in the NFC North, and then they got 3 games, 3 outliers based on the NFL formula after that. So we see a lot of the same opponents throughout the season within the division. We start off with an NFC South opponent. The Titans go to New Orleans. And if you've listened to the Saints show, you know that we've already got the Titans losing their first game in New Orleans, Derek Carr and company, as the Titans really try to figure out who they are this season.
Yeah, I mean, so many question marks about the Titans this year. And I know there was a lot of changes in New Orleans as well, but New Orleans being at home and playing a team kind of trying to find an identity, they should definitely take care of business there.
Next up in week 2, they play the Chargers. Last year, I would have been kind of really excited about that game. This year, with the Titans not even knowing who's going to be a quarterback, I'm not so sure that this is nearly as exciting. And I give the Chargers a win in Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers are just a better team, right? They're pretty much better at basically every position and group. They were a playoff team last year. I agree with you. The Chargers are going to win this one.
Titans go to Cleveland in week 3. I see this one as kind of a dogfight. I like the way this one kind of plays out on paper. The interesting thing, of course, being that the Titans had the worst pass defense in the NFL last year, going up against Watson, who we don't really know what we're going to get. Either way we do with the Titans. I do like Cleveland's rush defense better on paper. I'm actually going to give the Titans a win. They pull this one out in Cleveland in a dogfight.
Yeah, we disagree on this one. I do agree with you that it's going to be kind of a dogfight. Both teams like to run the ball. Both teams' defenses like to play tough. So it's going to be a low-scoring type of game. In those kind of games, I like to kind of favor the quarterback who can maybe make a couple of plays either late or down the stretch or in a couple of crucial moments. Deshaun Watson, I think, is better than any quarterback that the Titans have, whichever one decides to play that day. So I would take the Browns.
Perfect segue with the quarterback situation is in week 4, Cincinnati comes to Tennessee. Quarterback versus quarterback. Talk about who's better on either side of the ball, and Cincinnati definitely has this one trumped out, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Cincinnati over the last couple of years has established himself as one of the very best teams in the NFL. There's no reason to think they'll be any different this year. They really didn't lose anything that would signal some kind of a big drop-off. I think they're going to be right in the mix again this year, and they'll win this game.
Absolutely. Then they go to Indy. They swept the Colts last year, but it's a new look Colts, new coach, new quarterback, still one of the best running backs in the NFL. Tennessee at Indy. Man, this should be a game.
Yeah, Tennessee at Indy, one of those division rivalry type of games. I think both of these teams are on pretty equal playing fields this year, considering, all the changes around both of them, all the question marks around both of them. With the game being in Indy, I'll give the Colts the win.
I think this is one of those home game situations where it pays off to play at home. I will also give Indy the win in an early matchup, week 5. Then we get a London game, week 6. Tennessee's going to travel to London with Baltimore. I don't know if London's getting a great game in this one. I want to say that London's getting a great game in this one, but again, with Tennessee being the mess that it is, honestly, Baltimore's not much tidier of a house. They're kind of a mess themselves. So maybe you get a good game by two not so good teams just because the teams aren't really dialed in. So you get one of those great games from not great teams.
Yeah, I mean, it could be done that way. You also, you could kind of get Lamar Jackson versus Derrick Henry. Two stars could have big games running the ball. That could be an exciting angle to this game. I mean, look, weird things happen in the London games and the international games. We've kind of seen that over the years.
Oh,
I just think the Ravens are the better team. And as long as Lamar Jackson is playing, I think they'll get it done.
Yeah, that is one of the things to look at as well. But again, as we do this live, I also give Titans the loss. Luckily, the Titans get a little rest. They get a bye week after their London game. Jags, not so lucky, but we'll get into that in a couple episodes. Week 8, they play Atlanta. We both gave the Titans the win versus Atlanta because the Titans were playing at home.
I would favor the home team in this matchup. Again, two ugly kind of teams this year, two teams that don't play each other too often. So give me the Titans at home.
Titans at Pittsburgh in week 9. I'm taking the Steelers, and don't worry, I'm not going to give the Steelers every win this season, and we're going to have to be careful not to do that with Cincinnati as well. With this division, I think, at least for the two teams we've done already, Houston and Titans, I think we're safe. I am giving Pittsburgh the win. It's not just the mess that the Titans are. I think Pittsburgh really does start to get dialed in as they run through this new offense with Pickett and Pickens and all that in year 2. I think Pittsburgh's going to be much improved this year, and I don't think the Titans are going to have enough to really stand in their way.
I agree that I think that the Steelers are going to win this game. I'm pretty much using the same reasoning that I used for the Steelers beating the Texans, and it's that they've been very good at beating the very bad teams. I consider the Titans a bad team, and the Steelers will win.
Pittsburgh, the first team in a 3-game trip. Tampa, the second. We've already talked about the Tampa schedule, so we know that Titans are going to lose this game at Tampa against Baker Mayfield and company. I think they lose a close one because I don't have a lot of faith in Tampa, but you really like Tampa's defense to kind of be the dominant force in matches like this.
I think Tampa's D is going to step up this year. Todd Bowles is still the head coach. He's a great defensive coach, maybe not a great head coach. I think a lot of Bucs games are going to be low scoring this year because of Baker Mayfield, and I think that this type of matchup is the one that they're going to win.
Last game in this road stint is at Jacksonville. It's just unfortunate for Tennessee. Jacksonville swept them last year. I don't see this coming out any different, foreshadowing the last game of the season as well. I think Jacksonville wins this one.
I have Jacksonville winning a lot of games this year, and this is definitely one of them.
We're going to have to make sure we don't give Jacksonville every win. But again,
I think I have so far.
Right. Well, I mean, it's easy with the NFC South and the AFC South. Jacksonville's just between those two divisions. They're easily the best team on paper out of all 8 of those teams. There really shouldn't be a lot of debate about that. Week 13, Indianapolis also comes to Tennessee. We already gave Indy the win at home. Do we give Tennessee the win at home when Indy comes?
Yeah, this is another one of those home split division series type of things for me with two teams that there's not a whole lot of difference between the two of them. I like both of them to each win their home game.
Agreed. Then they go to Miami, and this would be a fun one. Now we have questions for both teams at quarterback. Will Tua still be in? Doesn't matter if Tua's still in. Honestly, for me, if Tua's in, then I got to give Miami the win. But if Tua's not in, I actually give it to Tennessee. Now, I'm going to play this out as if Tua's in because I want Tua to be in. We've talked about in previous shows that I worry about Tua this season. I think someone bumps into him. I think he's going to be out, and it's no fault of his own. It's just the nature of these head injuries. I will predict this game as if Tua's going to play. And so, as I said, I will give Miami the win and Tennessee the loss.
Yeah, I think if Tua plays, the Dolphins definitely win. But even if Tua doesn't play, I think the Dolphins can still win this game because they have a lot more talent. They added Jalen Ramsey to the defense. The receivers are still elite. Give me the Dolphins.
Week 15, we've already said that the Titans will beat Houston as Houston tries to figure things out this season on their way to another good draft pick. Week 16, Seattle comes in. A lot of faith in Seattle. A lot of people looking at Seattle to do big things, but you had brought it up on a previous episode that Seattle is, by the statistical standard, due for some regression. How's this go down with the Titans?
In particular for me, I think Geno is not going to have as good of a year this year as he had last year. Not to say he's going to go back to really bad Geno like he was before last season, but I just don't see him improving on last year for where he's at in his career and his age. I think that was kind of a career year for him. But as I keep saying about the Seahawks too, is their roster is really good. Like when you look at their roster as a whole, they have a lot of good things going on. That even if Geno does regress this year, as I expect him to regress, like he's not going to have another career year in my opinion, or build off of last year's outlier at this point in his career with his age, but their roster is so good everywhere else that I still think they can be a playoff contending team, even with Geno's regression. If they're going to compete for a playoff spot, they got to beat teams like the Titans, and I think they will.
So we're both giving the Titans another loss. In week 17, they go to Houston. We gave Houston the home win in that one. The Titans lost 8 of their last 10. They lost their last 7. They lost 8 of their last 10 last year. So already we're predicting them to do a little better at the end of the season. Their last game is against Jacksonville. I personally am giving Jacksonville the sweep. I imagine I know your answer here.
Yep. Give me Jags again.
Jags just that good, but also in a division that's just that bad with Tennessee. So as I look at this, the Tennessee finished 7-10 last year. It looks like you've got Tennessee at 3-14, tying it with Houston in the dumpster, and I gave them 5 wins. Neither of us very high. Both of us having the same record between Houston and the Titans, both tying for last place in the division.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Titans are kind of a mess this year, and I really like Mike Vrabel as a head coach, so it's really hard for me to see Mike Vrabel only going 3-14 because I think he's a great coach, but just the way their schedule plays out, the way their roster looks like, all the question marks at quarterback, Derrick Henry still involved in trade rumors. I think it's very possible that for a 3rd year in a row, the Titans are going to take a quarterback high in the draft.
Wouldn't that be crazy if they do so bad that they end up taking a quarterback again? That would blow my mind if they took a quarterback 3 years in a row.
Like, if it's going to play out that way, they have to give Will Levis a chance to play this year. I think they are going to. I don't think they would have took him at the top of the 2nd round like that if he wasn't going to play. I don't know if it'll be playing in week 1. Probably not. Maybe. Who knows? But at some point, we're going to see Will Levis. Me personally, I'm not particularly high on Will Levis. I don't understand necessarily what all the hype was about with Will Levis. I know he looks like your prototypical NFL quarterback, but when you really go look at his numbers and whatnot, I know it was on Kentucky, who's not a great team, but there's nothing that jumps out to me about Will Levis besides him being that big framed muscular quarterback that people want. But just because he looks like an NFL quarterback doesn't make him an NFL quarterback.
Are we thinking kind of an RG3 type situation?
Well, I mean, RG3 looked great before he got hurt. You know what I mean? His rookie season was unbelievable, and then he had the leg injuries and never quite bounced back from it. To me, Levis looks like a quarterback. He hasn't played like a quarterback. You can make the case that that's because Kentucky was so outmatched against the other SEC teams, and I understand that, but I haven't seen a whole lot from Levis that gives me a lot of confidence. And the fact that all these quote-unquote draft experts had Levis going in the top 10, top 5, some of them even said he could be the number 1 overall pick, he falls out of the 1st round, which to me tells me the professional scouts, the real NFL teams, are not as high on Levis as these Kuipers and Schefters and McShays and all these guys that talk about prospects.
I hear you. We're going to see how it all comes out. I kind of liked Levis, but I agree. I don't think he's like the second coming of anybody. He might be the exact match for what they already have.
He might be just another Tannehill.
100%. I can definitely see that playing out exactly like that. AFC South, we're rolling through all the teams in the NFL on the way to the start of the season. We got the Titans finishing at the bottom of the division. Great draft pick. Will they take another quarterback next year? Will it even play out like this? Who knows? But come back and see how we do on the next one with the Colts. We're with Adam Hulse of Adam Hulse Sports, at Adam Hulse Sports on Twitter. Find him over on Sportskeeda. I'm Chris Fox with That Effin' Sports Show at That Effin' Show. Join us for the Colts, AFC South, running through it all. We're going to get it done. Come back and join us. Thanks, guys.
Just tell me